What's up guys, it's Damien here. Today we are going to talk a bit about Docker, but let's start from the beginning. In a lot of cases, when we as developers develop code on our local machines and we use package managers like npm in case of JavaScript, we are pulling dependencies that were adjusted to our specific environment, like node version, operating system, and etc. It's fine when we are working on local project, but sometimes it becomes a hassle when we want to deploy our application and we have a problem with installation of dependencies, or we use some library that was by default in our system and we didn't know about it, or project just behaves differently than we are used to. So many things that may go wrong in the cases like that, but what when we want it to behave exactly the same way when we run it on our local machine, our friend's machine, production server, or your grandma's machine? Here, with big help for us comes Docker. Docker is a virtualization technology that creates independent images and containers with our application that will run on almost any system we want, with almost any configuration, without almost any configuration and compatibility issues. What means if your machine is able to run Docker and specific image you want, it will behave in the exactly same way, doesn't matter what operating system you are using or what device configuration you have. That makes apps easier to manage and deploy to any environment that you need. If you would like to get more information about Docker and what it is, you can check links in the description. In today's episode, we will talk about how to build Docker container with a simple Vue.js application, how to run it, and how to deploy it to Docker Hub, that's Docker repository, something like npm for JavaScript packages, and it will allow other people to pull and use our image.
Before recording this video, I prepared a simple Vue.js application that will only show the Panda2 logo, and I did that to show that this content that we are doing here is unique, and in the end, when you will run the Docker container that we are creating today, it should look exactly the same as it looks on my machine without any configuration on your side. So in here we have simple application that's running in the development mode, and it's hosted from the live server, and every change we will do will automatically be reflected on the screen. So let's, for example, remove the logo. Yeah, so as you see, it's hot reloading. And it's cool when we are developing the application, but in the end, we will want this app to be static code, and we will run through our Docker container and static code. So to create this application, first what we need to do is build our application to create a static files that will include only HTML, JavaScript, and CSS in the way that we can publish it on the any server that will support HTML. So it can be Apache, it can be Nginx, or any other HTTP server. Okay, we created our distribution version. We can run it by posting. No, at this moment we can't run it because we should only publish it to the server. However, we can bypass this by installing the add-on from npm that's called HTTP server, and it will help us to create a server on our local environment. We will later use the same module to run in our Docker container. So let's install it. Now we will add it to our script, so we can simply run it with npm. And at this moment, we are hosting our application on the HTTP server, and any change we will do will not be reflected like in the previous example, just it will be behaving the same way as we don't use any source file this time. We are using only distributed version that's built and will always be the same till the time when we will rebuild it again. To prove that, we can comment it out and see we have it. Okay, so that's how we run it on our local environment. Now we'll prepare a Docker file that will create a container, and next time we'll run it inside the container. So it will be customized for our distribution, but not for the operating system as it is in this case. So first thing that we need is to create a new file in our repository or in our project. It will be a file called Docker file. As you can see in here, it automatically cached its Docker, and my editor, VS Code in this case, shows that, oh, I know how to separate it. I will help you with those files. But we don't need it. This is what you need to know before we create our first image, is that every image is based on another image. In our case, we need image that runs Node.js, and we can find any version of it, like version Node version 14, that's current long-time support, Node in version 15, that's currently distributed version, but we can find also legacy versions like 8 or 12 that were being used in the past, and can support a lot of legacy code that we may need to run on our Docker container if we would like to transform legacy code to a new Docker distribution. So to find the full list of the Docker containers that we can use, we can go to Docker Hub. As I mentioned before, it's a registry that helps to keep images in one place and allow us to pull them from here and use in our projects in the same way as we did it with HTTP server. So this what we need is Node. This image was updated last time 17 hours ago, so it's pretty fresh distribution. But we will use version 14, that's currently long-time support, and latest version of it. So we will be sure that we will be getting always the latest stable version. This should help us to avoid issues that may be caused by bug in a version that often happens with the node in version that is not even numbered. So let's use version 14, 16.1a, or in this case LTS Alpine 3.10. When new version will come and it will be version 14.17.1 or 0.0, this will allow us to pull the new version without changing anything in our Docker configuration. So in the beginning we have to mark from which. So now we have to define from which image we would like to start, and as I said before, we will use node image and our LTS version. So to define the image, we have a keyword from, then we put the name of the image and its version. That's it. This will allow us to pull new node image and will allow us to run it up. However, at this moment it don't include our application. So this, what it will do, will only run a clear node installation that will don't do anything as we didn't tell it what it has to do. At the first place, we will specify our work directory. For this, we have a keyword workdir, and let's call it up. To copy files, we have the command copy, and then we specify from which directory to which directory we want to copy. In this case, we want to copy from the directory where we have our Docker file, which means we put dot, and we want to copy it to our working directory, which means dot. Next thing we have to do is run our npm install. To run any command in the way like we do it in terminal, we have command run. After running npm install, we will build our project, so we will receive our distribution version inside the Docker container. The final step that we have to do is to expose the port that we will publish our app on. As you may notice, in the case of HTTP server, we are using the port 8080, so we want to expose this port outside of the image so our local machine or production server will be able to see it. To expose the port, we have simple command called expose. Then we specify the port, and the final step that we have to do is to run our distribution in the way like we did it in the terminal, but we will specify it as a cmd, then we'll put in brackets and specify npm run server. We have to split those words with comma, and that's it. In this moment, we are able to build our container, and after all, we will be able to run it. When we have our Docker file ready, we can tell Docker to build a new image with our configuration. To do that, we can go to the terminal, run keyword docker build, specify flag t, that will be name of our new image. Let's call it Hello Panda. And after that, we specify the directory from which we want to build. And this directory requires a Docker file. And in our case, as we are in the current project, we will put only a dot. In this moment, Docker pulled the image from the Docker Hub and ran step by step all this what we specified in here, as we can see it in here. In this case, it went pretty fast because I already had cached this image in the past and didn't have to pull all of it again. If I would do this from the beginning with full pull, it would take probably around 30 seconds to expose everything. Okay, so right now we can check the Docker, and I see that new image called Hello Panda is being created. Now I would like to run it. To run it, we will use a command called docker run. We'll specify the port that we want to use. In our case, it's 8080 on both ways. It means, this case means the port that we want to see it in our machine. In this case, is the port that has been exposed from Docker. Later, we'll call the name of the instance of the container that we want to have. So again, Hello Panda. And then specify the image that we want to run. So again, Hello Panda. As we can see in here, it started the local host with port 8080 as we had it before, but also run it with the new address that's called inside of the Docker container, and this allows to be visible for this container for other containers if you would like to use them. But it's something not for today. We'll cover it in another episode. Let's see if it works. Yep, it works. We see that everything that we call, we have response from the server that is inside Docker. we can also see in the Docker configuration that we have running Hello Panda on the port 8080. That's it. That's all what we have to do to run our Docker container. Build it and run it. We will add one more thing before we will publish it. When we build our application inside the container, we don't want the garbage from our local machine to be added to the Docker. It will be unnecessary and sometimes it may cause some issues. For this, we'll have a file called docker ignore. Inside of the docker ignore, we'll specify which files we would like to exclude from being copied to Docker. In my project, I have a directory idea that comes from IDE called WebStorm that I'm using time to time. So if I don't want it, I just type here idea. I don't want our local distribution because we will build it on the server. So let's exclude directory dist. And we don't need node modules from our local machine as its configuration prepared for our specific environment. Like in my case, it will be Mac OS. And we want it for the system that's used by the node image. And that's it. At this moment, we have fully ready configuration that we will use and publish, so everyone can pull it, run it on the machine, and should have exactly same effect as I have in here. To be able to push our new image, we will need a free account on the Docker Hub. Now I will just show you how to authenticate and push our new image. So in the terminal, we put docker login. Then we specify our username. In my case, it's panda2. We put password. And voila, we are logged in. When we are logged in, we can tag our new image that we created with the name of our profile. So in my case, it will be panda2. And then we will be able to push it. So let's use docker tag hello panda and specify it as and now we are able to push it. In here you can see the progress of our publication, and once it's ready, we should get a link and be able to see our image in the profile. So I will log in to see if we will be able to do this once it's ready. As you can see in here, we have our new image and everyone is able to pull it. All you have to do is to put docker pull panda2 hello panda in your terminal, then you will be able to pull it and run it.
And that would be it. I will put a link to our image in the description so you can pull it and run on your local machine to check that I didn't lie. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. I will be more than happy to help to all of you. If you have any suggestions what we could improve or what subject we should cover in the future, please also put them in the comment section. For now, thanks for your attention. Remember about thumbs up if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, and be ready for the next video. See you!